Good evening from Johannesburg. I'm Bandile Hadebe from the ANC Professionals League. Welcome to Let's Have It Out. ENCA gives a variety of different newsmakers the chance to host this program, unfiltered, accountable, and accessible. On Saturday, the country witnessed the launch of the Democratic Alliance's manifesto. Around 20,000 party supporters gathered at the Rand Stadium to listen to the party leader, Mr. Mmusi Maimane, outline the DA's promises and policies. Tonight, our conversation seeks to drill deep into this manifesto, assess its ability to deliver a prosperous South Africa for all, and just how much of its offers are actually based on practical and implementable steps in the context of South Africa. To get more clarity on this, I'm joined in the Cape Town studios by Geordin Hill-Lewis, DA's spokesperson on jobs. We'll also be giving you a chance from home to be part of the conversation, and here's how.
Tweet us at ENCA using the hashtag LHIO. Call us on 011-759-6340 or send us a WhatsApp or WhatsApp video on 082-884-6370. And make sure those videos are no longer than 30 seconds, please.
Geordin Hill-Lewis, thank you for joining us this evening.
Lovely to be with you.
So let's get right into it. What does the DA stance on land? Do you believe black South Africans deserve to own land in their own country?
Of course we do, Bandile. The difference is that we have a plan and a track record of actually making that happen in a way that continues to grow the economy and doesn't destroy the economy. And the way that we do that is by making sure that South Africans who live in urban areas, which is where people prefer to live because that is closer to economic opportunities and to job opportunities, have got full title to the homes that they have received from the state over the last 25 years. It is patronizing to black South Africans for the state to give them homes and to build them homes, but never allow them to own it and to force them to be permanent tenants dependent on the state's generosity forever. So we have said what we need to do is make sure that owners of homes in urban areas become real landowners by giving them full title. And where we govern, we have done that in the hundreds of thousands and made real homeowners out of black South Africans for the first time. Now, according to the government's own statistics, Yes, go for it.
Geordin, what's really patronizing, and let's be honest here, what's really patronizing is the fact that where you govern, you make reference of where you govern, which is in the Western Cape, for instance, black South Africans only own 1% of agricultural functional land. That's patronizing.
Well, unfortunately, your statistics are badly out of date. We've just done a recent audit, and in fact 72% of land reform projects in the Western Cape are a success. That compares with about 10% of land reform projects elsewhere in the country. Now the fact is national government's own statistics show that 93% of land reform beneficiaries prefer to take the money, not the rural farming land. If the government was serious about land reform on a massive scale, they would make sure that every person who currently lives on a piece of land which is owned by the state has got full title to that land. The government does not do that, even though it has been within their power and gift to do so for 20 years. That is patronizing.
Geordin, let's not distort statistics. I hear that 72% of projects that have been successful, those are urban projects where you've expected people to pay for the land to require it. I am talking about functional agricultural land in the Western Cape today, which is in the hands of only 1% of the population in the Western Cape. And your program Now let's be clear about what it is that you're proposing. You are proposing a program of returning land to black people, which starts with black people having to pay for that land. What are you expecting them to pay with? Why are you opposed to expropriation of land without compensation?
We are absolutely opposed to land expropriation without compensation because it is a guaranteed plan to destroy the economy. It's all well and good to focus on redistribution, but if you redistribute an increasingly shrinking economic pie, then there's less to go around for everyone. Land expropriation has failed and has caused more poverty and more misery and more suffering wherever it has been tried. And the ANC has reached into the vault of failed economic policies from a museum rather than from common sense policy, and has found this land expropriation policy to implement. It is not a good idea. It's a crazy idea.
But part of the reason the ANC is pursuing expropriation of land without compensation, and it's not just the ANC. You would remember the parliamentary process that took South Africa into confidence and asked South Africans which option they prefer. Your party is saying the entire nation is wrong. Your party is saying that the stolen land that were taken and dispossessed from black people, for black people to repossess their land, they must pay for it. Pay for it with what?
No, that's not our proposal at all. All of those recipients of state-subsidized housing in urban areas across the country over the last 25 years are forced to be permanent state tenants because they are not allowed to own their home. Now, they haven't paid for those houses. They are beneficiaries of state-subsidized housing, but you won't let them own it. Why not? Make them real owners, make them real stakeholders in the economy, and give them the homes that they already live in. That's what we are doing, by the hundreds of thousands. Now, let me just answer about land expropriation. It is not true that that's what the whole country wanted. In fact, there were nearly 1 million inputs through the public participation process, the majority of which opposed land expropriation without compensation. Those were conveniently ignored because the truth of the matter is, and let's be honest here, Bandile, the truth of the matter is that this is a fig leaf. That land expropriation is being used as a scapegoat to distract people from the truth that the ANC has paid no attention to proper land reform for more than 20 years. And now, because public anger is growing, it is looking for a scapegoat. And that scapegoat is the Constitution. It's grossly irresponsible of any governing party to act in this way.
Geordin, let's just go to a quick break. We'll be back. Welcome back to Let's Have It Out. I'm Bandile Hadebe from the ANC Professionals League, and my guest on the show tonight is Geordin Hill-Lewis, and he's the DA spokesperson on jobs. Jonathan, let's continue with our conversation.
Yes.
Sorry, Jonathan, let's continue with our conversation. Geordin, sorry, I keep getting your name wrong, I apologize. Geordin, let's continue with our conversation. One of the things that your manifesto has raised, and this is a conversation that obviously started just before you launched your manifesto, was the question around scrapping BEE. Why are you looking to scrap BEE?
That's a good question. The reasoning is simple. BEE started out with a noble intention of diversifying ownership in our economy. But over the years, it has been captured by a well-connected political elite that has used it basically to implement a program of massive, wide-scale corruption in the economy. And so BEE has been completely perverted. And this is a position held by the vast majority of South Africans that are tired of BEE because it does not deliver on its original mandate. All it delivers on is to re-enrich a tiny elite of well-connected ANC billionaires and multi-millionaires and their children and their families at the expense of ordinary black South Africans. So for that reason, we came to the decision that we cannot any longer support BEE as it is implemented by the ANC. That does not mean that we have abandoned support for black advancement. Those are two different things. We reject the ANC's model of BEE and we replace it with our own better working model.
Take us through to what your model looks like.
Well, the problem is that the current model has served to only concentrate opportunities in the hands of the few. And that's what we mean when we say We want one South Africa that is truly for all the people, so that opportunities are not reserved for only those who are well connected, but they're available to all. So we need to rewrite BEE policy to make sure that it actually incentivizes businesses to bring in new entrants, small businesses and people who have not already been empowered.
Sorry, Jordan, I've got a call on the line. Jonathan from Johannesburg, good evening. Jonathan?
Yeah, good evening.
It seems
I'm trying to understand just particularly, how does the DA have any understanding of what Black South Africa understands to get land in this country, when the reality is the majority of the country has no land whatsoever, and you guys are holding the land with literally no way forward for the majority of the country? How are you going to put a new way forward for the DA to simply put a way forward? What's the strategy?
Jonathan? Thank you for your call, Jonathan. Jordan? What is your strategy?
Well, there are millions of Black South Africans who live on land or in homes that are owned by the government. And the question we need to ask is, why does the government not want those South Africans to own the land that they live on, or to own the houses that they live in? That is the central question. Now, we are saying our approach to land reform is to give those people proper ownership, to give them full title, to give them the dignity of actually being a homeowner and a stakeholder in our economy. And it is the government that prevents them from doing that by refusing to give title to state-owned land. So we can achieve land reform without the scapegoat of land expropriation. It is unnecessary and it is destructive.
Jordan, so there's a lie that the DA has perpetuated for too long, the lie around private ownership of land. The ANC government is not opposed to private ownership of land. The ANC government has also not suggested any process of nationalization of land. The ANC government is focused on pursuing a strategy where the land that is currently in the majority of white people is shared equally. I don't know where you guys get this idea that the ANC government wants to perpetuate where people are owned by the state. We are not pursuing a nationalization of land policy as the African National Congress. But what we are pursuing, and this is the part that you continuously distort as the DA, and you've campaigned on an erroneous view about the ANC, about the government, with no basis. If you take, for instance, Gauteng, where Premier David Makhura has already started rolling out a process to allocate land, state-owned land, to the people. Now, you don't speak about that. You perpetuate this lie that we want to have people renting the land from the states, that the ANC want to own the land. The ANC has never said anything about nationalization of land. The DA came up with that concept and said the ANC is saying that. Let's take another call out from Cape Town. Nangaba, good evening.
Good evening, Bandile, and good evening to your guest. I'd just like to rebut something that he said earlier on, where he claimed that in the public hearings for the constitutional amendment, that close to 1 million South Africans were opposed to the expropriation of land without compensation. And in fact, it's been proven, and he would know that because he's an MP, it's actually been proven that the submissions that were made were actually AfriForum clogging up the system with repeated submissions of the same people having systems-generated submissions where, in fact, they used the fact that they've got technology to create a facade to say that millions of South Africans don't want the expropriation of land without compensation. But when in actual fact, people do want it. It's a minute group of people who use technology and who use the fact that they've got access to resources to generate an email wherein they would send hundreds and thousands of the same email from the same people to clog up the system in order for them to halt or to delay the process of the expropriation without land without compensation. So it's absolutely not true that there are millions of South Africans who do not want their land to be returned to to its original rightful owners. That's all I wanted to rebut. Thank you, Bandile.
Thank you so much, Nangaba. Geordin, Nangaba says you are distorting the stat by a study that you conducted that was deliberately created to confuse South Africa. How do you answer to that?
Bandile, let me just respond to the comments that you made about the ANC government. And let me put this question to you, if I may turn the tables for a second. If it is true that you support land redistribution so much, why won't you give title to the millions of people who live in state-sponsored houses and the millions of people who live on state-owned land in rural areas? Why will you not give them title? If you really support land reform, why has it taken the DA to hand over hundreds of thousands of title?
Geordin, I think what you keep distorting is that it's a lie that you now have begun to believe as the DA that we don't hand our title deeds to our people, which is not true. That's the one part. You are confusing.
You do not?
No, you are confusing what is happening in traditionally held land by the kings, and you are confusing it with the ANC policy. And at the back of that confusion, you keep perpetuating that you are coming up with a better strategy that doesn't exist. What you are refusing to acknowledge and what you are refusing to run up with is the fact that in the province you govern, Western Cape, black people do not own any functional agricultural land, and you've not been able to change that. You then duplicate everything else that the ANC is doing. I mean, the issue of handing out title deeds that you're talking about, that you are now claiming to be doing, David Makura has already been doing that. It's a strategy that the ANC is going to be rolling across all provinces. That's an ANC vision. And this is characteristic of the DA's manifesto. It's either a copy and paste of the ANC, or it's a pie in the sky of actions that we actually cannot implement in the confines of the South African context and the financial limitations that we have. That's the problem. But Nangaba is now saying to you, you distorted the study with an email that you sent out. How do you answer to that?
Well, I note, Bandile, that you have not answered my question on why the ANC refuses to give people title to the homes they live in. Mr. Makura has come late to the party, and we welcome his arrival to the party now, but he goes where the DA leads. That's where he follows. Now, let me answer your caller from Cape Town and say, I did not say, we must be accurate with our words, I did not say that 1 million South Africans opposed land expropriation. I said there were nearly 1 million submissions to that committee, and the majority of those submissions opposed land expropriation without compensation. Now, it's all well and good to say now, we've had this public participation process, but because we don't like the results, well, we're just going to toss it aside and write off those public comments as some kind of conspiracy. But actually, that's not how public participation works. There was an open, free public participation process, and the majority of South Africans who participated in that process opposed land expropriation without compensation, because they know, as well as every right-thinking South African knows, that it is a destructive policy and it is nothing more than an excuse for 25 years of failure.
Geordin, let's move on. We're clearly not going to agree on this land issue because you would want South Africans to continue paying for land that was stolen from them. That aside, take South Africa to confidence with
Give them title.
Take South Africa to confidence with regard to your pro-poor concept that also speaks about equal opportunities for people with unequal background. How do you sell this pro-poor debate while you speak about this equal opportunities for all South Africans? How can you pursue equal opportunities for South Africans without taking into cognizance the background that we're coming from, the legacy of this country that requires us to repudiate certain imbalances of the past? You are just saying everybody must imagine that we are now starting at the same starting line with equal backgrounds and equal skills and equal supports, but that's not the reality. Geordin?
No, of course, Bandile, I think on there we may find some agreement. That is absolutely not the reality. We are saying the huge majority of South Africans are still locked out of equal opportunity. They have terrible education, they have terrible health care, they grow up in real poverty. And that is where our absolute focus is. And the best way to deal with poverty in South Africa is through a DA government, because we have proven that we create jobs in large numbers, and that is the best way to get people on the ladder out of poverty, is to get them into work. We improve education, we improve public health care, And so doing, over time, we improve people's opportunities and bring them up to the level of equal opportunity. We have never said that that is already the case. Our complete focus is on how to get people out of poverty, and we do it best.
Okay, I've got a caller from Durban, Geordin. Vuyisi, good evening.
Good evening, Bandile and your guest.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for having me in your program. I just want to ask a question from the spokesperson of the DA. He talks about advancing the agenda of the black majority, when it comes to the land question. But I am not convinced, because I have seen many black leaders in the DA being patronized. So I don't think they are pro-black. It's just that towards the election, they will say something that would want to attract black people to vote for them, but they have no mercy at all when it comes to the leadership there is no example from what we have seen in the leadership, black leaders in the DA. The examples are clear. There's Patricia DeLille, there's Ntuli, there's many of them that have not been advanced. I don't believe in the DA advancing the black majority agenda. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Vuyisi. Can we also take Keke from Bloemfontein?
How are you?
Good evening, Keke. Go ahead, my brother.
Yes, the gentleman from the DA, he was asked about the BE alternative, but it seems like he's very evasive. He's not giving clear answers. Can you still answer that question, because he's not saying anything about it?
I've lost the signal.
Okay. Geordin, just coming back to you.
Lost the signal?
Vuyisi from Durban raises a very critical question, and I want to contextualize it this way. In your executive, Geordin, are you still with us? Geordin, are you still with us? Welcome back to Let's Talk It Out. Geordin, we just had a couple of questions there before we had a technical glitch. Vuyisi from Durban was asking a very fundamental question on your claims about supporting and believing in black leadership within your organization. And let's contextualize it correctly so that we don't have this pie-in-the-sky answers. In your own province, with the 11 MECs in your executive that you have, 7 of them are white, only 2 are black, and only 2 are colored. Are you not able to find capable blacks in South Africa, within the Democratic Alliance, to lead within your structures? The bulk of your HODs in the Western Cape and in the provinces where you lead are also white. How is this giving confidence to the suggestions that you actually support black talent, that you actually believe in blacks in general?
Well, we are absolutely the most diverse party in South Africa. We attract support from every single community in the country, and that support is coming through the ranks of the party and is increasingly reflected at every level of our party's leadership, in Parliament, in our national leadership, in our provincial leadership, and in all of our benches and ranks. So I'm very confident that we are the most diverse party, and increasingly will always reflect that in everything that we do and in all of our representation and leadership. But let me answer your caller from Durban as follows, and say that the best thing that we can do to advance mainly poor, mainly black South Africans is to create jobs and to make sure that those jobs are available fairly to everyone. And the DA has proven that we do this better than any other government in South Africa. We have created 600,000 jobs in the one place that we have governed. And we've done that, and the main beneficiaries of that are poor, unemployed people. And that is the best way to advance the cause of the majority of our poor.
Geordin, we've run out of time. We're going to have to close. Despite that distortion on job stats, with Gauteng being on top, Free State being next, and only Western Cape coming afterwards. And that's it for this edition of Let's Have It Out. Keep the conversation going on social media using the hashtag LHIO. I'm Bandile Hadebe, and thank you for watching, and good night.